first we'll look at creating an API proxy and publishing it to our new Bijira Dev portal. So first, as Santa mentioned, we have the same structure as Choreo, where you have an organization at the top. And within that organization, you have a set of projects. And within the projects, you have the API. Within the project, you have the API proxies. And so to create an API proxy, you click on the create button. And then you will see this page where you have two sections. One is to create ingress APIs and other is to create egress APIs. So when you're creating ingress APIs, you have the option to create ingress APIs using an existing API contract, or by providing an endpoint, or by just starting from scratch without any API definition, or you can use an AI chat solution to generate a Swagger definition as you saw in the presentation. And before going into ingress bit in depth, I'll just walk you through the egress part as well here. So similar to ingress, for egress APIs, you can use an existing API contract, or you can browse a selection of APIs through this option, which we have inbuilt provided by Bijira, where these open API definitions are available to you, where you can use one of these open API definitions and create an egress API proxy, which will be deployed to our egress API gateway. And in addition to that, we have a customized list of AI APIs that can be used as egress proxies. At the moment, we support Azure OpenAI and OpenAI specifications to create egress proxies. So for this demo, I'll create an ingress API proxy by importing an API contract. So once you click on this option, so you will have 4 alternatives to create your API proxy from a contract. One is using a URL. One is by importing OpenAPI definition file, or by using a GitHub repository, or by Swagger Hub API definition. So I'll just try with our sample URL where we have OpenAPI file. And this you can see once the URL is provided, you will see the retrieved OpenAPI schema, and we'll proceed. So in this way, you can provide the required information related to the API. This will be your base path. You can provide description and your target endpoint. And as well, we can provide the access mode, which will determine if your API proxy will be deployed to the internal gateway or the external gateway. So I'll choose external for now. And then you can proceed to create an API proxy. So just before going a bit into depth about the API proxy, I'll just show you the project view again. And here you can see the Navigate Books API. And in addition to that, you can, similar to the Choreo user interface, you can see the architecture diagram, the cell architecture diagram, and a summary about your API proxies, HTTP proxies, service proxies. In the future, when we include the GraphQL APIs, you will see that here as well. So if we go into the API, here, as we saw in the presentation, our goal is to view the main API related actions within the overview page itself. So in this view, you can see your Open API specification. You can see which environments the API is deployed to, and you can configure those environments from here. And as well, you can view the subscription plans and the documents you created for the API. And as well, you can see the lifecycle status of the API, which is currently integrated. And as part of a feature in Bijira, once you create an API proxy, we will automatically deploy that API proxy to the development environment. And through that, you can, using our test console over here on the side menu, and using the console option, you can invoke this API and basically test it. So you go to a particular resource and you execute the test code, and you could see the output. And also, as mentioned, we are focusing on a set of AI features, and you have an AI test console as well, where instead of a test console, you could provide a query to test your API proxy. In this case, if I say, you can see here the output of the execution of the HTTP request /getBooks. And then, so now the next part is we have to publish this API to our dev portal. But so for that, you have to go to the develop menu here, and it's the sub menu lifecycle. But so in Bijira, we have a restriction where you cannot publish your API proxies to the dev portal unless it is deployed to a critical environment. So a critical environment is an environment that you have, when you are creating an environment that you have marked it as a critical environment. For example, your production environment. So at least your API proxy has to be deployed to at least one of these critical environments. So to do that, I'll click on this link here, and from the side menu, you can see we are in the deploy menu, and now our API is deployed to develop. And I'll deploy it to production, which is the critical environment within this organization. I'll use the current configuration. And our API proxy is now deployed to production. And now if you move out to the lifecycle menu section in the develop menu, you can now see the lifecycle, and now you can make changes to the API proxy's lifecycle. So we'll go ahead and publish this API. And so, okay, so this is the new dev portal for Bijira. So in this dev portal, so the published APIs can be viewed under this side menu in subsection APIs. So here you can see the books API, and if you go into it, you can see the endpoint details of the production environment, the critical environment that we deployed it to, as well as the Swagger definition of the particular API proxy. And now our next task is to create an application and subscribe our API to that application and invoke it. So to do that, we have to go to the applications menu over here and create an application. And once application is created, yes, we can. There's a message in the chat saying, "Can we tee in the dev portal?" Yes, we can. And I'll demo it in the later stage. So once you go back to the API, you can see the books API, and you can see the app we created, books app, over here at the bottom, and you can subscribe to it. And now if we go back to the app we created, books app, here, so in this top banner, you can see the O2 key generation button. From here, you can generate O2 keys. And once you click on that button, you'll get this kind of pop-up, which includes the consumer key, consumer secret, and other O2 related configuration. For now, I'll leave it as it is. And then now you have your O2 setup, and now you can generate a token based on your O2 configuration. And this is my access token, and I'll copy it. And now I'll go back to my API, books API. And so in the new dev portal, the way to invoke your API within the dev portal is by going to the documentation from this button or by this submenu over here. And here under the API definition, you can see your endpoints. I'll choose the /getBooks. Here you can replace this default token with generated, and you can see the response. So this is the basic flow of creating an API proxy, deploying it to your environments, and then publishing it and subscribing to an application and a user invoking your API. So now we'll dive into a bit depth about some features in Bijira about the development cycle of the API proxy. And I'll start with the policy section. So in this left side menu, under develop, the policy submenu. So in the user interface, you saw this in the presentation as well. We provide a way to map your API proxy contract with the actual backend or the service contract. So this allows you to basically handle which resources you can expose through your API proxy and which source you don't want to. For example, let's say just delete a resource. I don't want to expose it. So you can just go ahead and delete this resource. And now, so even though your backend has the resource, it won't be exposed through your API proxy once it's deployed to the gateway. In addition, I'll show you another feature here. So you can add more resources to the API contract using this button. I'll add a new resource called nouns. And now you can actually map this API proxy resources to your actual backend through this. So to do that, I'll map this /nowels to send all HTTP requests coming to that path to be redirected to /books. So what you should do is you should click on this radio button over here, and then click on this button, and this will map this resource to our /books resource in our backend. And you can actually see this in this middle section here. You can see the resource level policies from this button. And once you do such kind of a mapping to a new resource, you can see a new resource level mediation policy applied called rewrite resource path. And through this, you can see that we have added the rewrite as /books. This is how this resource rewrite mapping works. And through this use interface, where you add resource level policies, you can attach other policies. Like can add a resource level policy to add a header, do a JSON to XML conversion of body, and so on. Actually, we can't delete backend resources. You can only modify your API contract from here. So let's say I deleted my /delete resource from the API proxy contract, right? So I can just go back and just select delete, and I just can add it back to the API proxy contract, because the backend contracts never is modified through this through Bijira. Actually, what you are modifying and what you are changing is the API proxy contract that you imported to the Bijira control plane. So now you can again map it back to the delete, and it will work as it was before. So you have the feature to create documents and for your API proxy, and you can publish it to the dev portal. So you have the same basically flow where you create a document. You have different document types, and then once you create them, you can publish it to the dev portal, and it will be visible. And here and okay, one more thing. So we I think we discussed about API insights. So to give API insights, currently in Bijira, you need to go back to the project level. So once I click on that button, you can see I'm now in the project level. And API and insights, submit API insights, you can see the basically your total traffic and other API related insight information over here. So that's a small overview of managing and developing your API proxy in Bijira. And move on to a few other features that are available in Bijira that belongs to a more administrator-related role. So for that, you should move on to the organization level through this. And so I'll first walk you through one, which is API governance. So governance, as Lasant explained to you, so we have this concept of rule sets and documents. So where rule sets are Spectral based rule sets, and documents are basically a PDF written in natural language. So basically, by default, Bijira provides you a default set of rule sets. So these are 3 default rule sets, and I'll just okay through one of them. WSO2 API guidelines. So this, you can view the default Spectral rule set that we have provided, and you can see this is the Spectral rule set. In addition to that, in Bijira, what we have is something called documents. Documents are normal English language documents that contains your organization's API design guidelines. So in this document, if you view this PDF, this is what you would add when you are creating a document for your governance. And once you have done that, you can apply these rule sets or documents by creating a policy. So to do that, basically what you should do is you should select add policy. And we provide two options. One is to create policies using those Spectral rules as I mentioned before, or by creating documents. So the difference with the rule sets and documents is the compliance is executed using two different methods. For rule sets, we use the Spectral engine to validate your API compliance against the rule sets. For documents, what we do is we use a large language model to extract rules from your document and then evaluate your API, open API specification against those rules extract from the AI to check your compliance adherence for the guidelines provided in the document. So I'll just, for the demo, I'll just create a Spectral rule set. I just create a policy using Spectral rule sets. So what you should do is you should add some metadata. Yes, and then you can provide the applicabilities. Applicabilities are which APIs does this policy applies to. But at the moment, in Bijira, if you create a policy, it will be applied across all your APIs, across all projects. And your governance will, the compliance will run on every API update at the moment, and it will only notify you, and it will not block any action at the moment. So if you create an API, if you update your API, you will see the compliance results in your governance dashboards, but it will not execute any blocking actions at the moment. So now for this rule set based policy, you can select the rule set that you want to include in this policy, and you can create it. Then you can see it over here. And once you update your API or set up APIs, or once you create your policies, a governance execution will run to extract the compliance details of your APIs in your organization. And once you're in this organization view, under insights, you can view your governance compliance results. So this is a very high level view since you're in the organization level. So what you see is basically how many policies are you compliant to, how many projects are compliant to these policies, and how many total APIs are compliant in this case. And in addition, so you can see the project level compliance at, let's say, so my default project, I have 3 policies applied and all 3 are violated, and how many rules have error state, how many has warning state, and this kind of summarized information can be extracted from this organization level compliance dashboard. And so if I go into my default project from this link, now I'm in my default project compliance view. So now you can see a bit more fine-grained information about your compliance. So now this view will give you the compliance details of your artifacts or APIs within that project. So I think we created the books API for this demo. You can see the books API related compliance information. You can see, so my policy called books APIs has adhered to one of the rule sets and has violated to one of the OSP rule set. If you want more information, like saying which rules are violated and which were compliant for this API, what you should do is you should click on that link near the API name, and now you can see a detailed information about which rule is violated, which rules are considered as errors, which are violations as warnings, and which rules that got passed during this compliance execution for this particular API proxy. So this is a high-level overview of governance where you can view compliance. So that's a question saying, can I see the exact violation instead of the rule set? So this is the exact violation for this API books API. These are the violations that you have. You can what is the name? Once you can see these are the violations of the rules that were violated by this API proxies specification. And I'll walk you through one more feature, which is there was a question on this as well, which is theming our new dev portal. So one of the key highlights of our new Bijira Developer Portal is the ability for the organization to theme your dev portal. So from here, you can see this is how my dev portal looks like. And you actually can set your colors through these kind of color pickers, or you can use our AI theming feature, and you can provide a website URL, and you can extract the theme of that website, and it will be visible in your theme over here. I'll just demo that right now. So this is a sample website. Yep. Till that close, I'll just show you how the theming applies using these color pickers, and you can select the colors you want, and you can change your text colors and other text over here, and I'll just keep this for now, and you can publish this to the dev portal through this. And now if you go back to our dev portal, you can see the theme applied, and this is what your users will be available to see. You can actually reset your theme if you make a mistake. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the demonstration.